Hi friends, today we are going to discuss the soaps and detergents part 2. Myself Dr. Deepak Avade, and today in the second part of soaps and detergents we are going to discuss three main points. The first one is the types of soaps, second one is the manufacturing of soap by full boiled process, or it is also called as hot process, and lastly the cleansing action of the soaps. So let's begin with the first types of soaps. So soaps are of mainly two types. So depending upon the alkali that is used during the manufacture of soaps, soaps have been classified broadly into two soaps. First one is hard soap, this one is hard soap, and second one is soft soaps. Second classification is based upon the purpose and use of these soaps for different purposes. So under this, soaps have been classified or categorized into the household soaps, toilet soaps, shaving soaps, medicated soaps, industrial soaps, etc. Now let's discuss one by one. The first one is household soaps. So these are the soaps which we use in day-to-day life, and these involve laundry soaps, powders, etc. They mainly contain fillers, builders like silicates, clay, sodium sulfate, etc. These household soaps are heavily rosined. Almost 50% of the total charge of the soap is comprised with the rosins. Powders are also used as household soaps to clean utensils, floors, etc. The second type of soaps are toilet soaps. So these are manufactured from the best quality of fat or oil which is rich in sodium oleate. Now, as we are using these soaps for bathing purpose or for hand wash purpose, so great care is taken while adding alkali during their manufacturing. So we have to maintain the pH of toilet soaps accurately, so that we have to add the calculated amount of alkali. So that is the main precaution that we have to take while preparing these toilet soaps. So toilet soaps include bath soaps, transparent soaps, shampoos, and they are prepared from high quality oils like coconut oil, olive oil, castor oil, etc. And mainly the alkali that is used in manufacturing toilet soaps is potassium hydrox or potash lye. Shampoos consist of lauric acid, oleic acid, propylene glycol, triethanol amine, etc. So here the important point in toilet soaps, we have to take great care to maintain the pH of the soaps. That means we have to add calculated amount of alkali during the preparation of these toilet soaps. The third type of soap that is called as medicated soap. So medicated soap contain medicinal ingredients. For example, phenols, cresols, etc. have the germicidal and antiseptic properties. Therefore, they are specifically added while manufacturing the medicated soaps. The next type of soap is called as shaving soaps. Now shaving soaps, these are the potassium salt of stearic acid. So the fatty acid that is used in the manufacturing of shaving soaps is stearic acid, and here gum or glycerin are added to prevent rapid drying of lather. So while doing shaving, the lather should not get dried immediately, and for that purpose gum and glycerin are added. So the next type of soap is industrial soaps. So these are mainly used for industrial purposes and they involve textile soaps, liquid soaps, etc. These are obtained from coconut oil, castor oil or groundnut oil. They are fairly soluble in water. Industrial soaps are fairly soluble in water. They should not deposit anything on fiber. If we are using the soaps in textile industry, that soap should not be deposited on the fabric. Therefore, while choosing the industrial soaps, great care is taken. So industrial soaps are obtained by drying or semi-drying of linseed oil, cottonseed oil, etc. and used as wetting agents. Liquid soaps are prepared from coconut oil, oleic acid, glycerin, borax, sugars or alcohol and used for hand wash in hospitals, offices, etc. So we are using liquid soaps in day-to-day life. So presently, as we are facing uh, corona, so we are using these liquid soaps. So these liquid soaps contains mainly glycerin. So that is the important component. So aluminum soaps are also used for polishing materials in printing, ink and in waterproofing textiles. Zinc and magnesium stearates are used in face powders. So whatever face powders we use, it includes zinc and magnesium stearates. So let's discuss the next point, that is manufacturing of soaps. So soaps are mainly sodium salts or potassium salts of higher fatty acids that we have seen in part 1. So for that purpose we require fat, oil or higher fatty acid and alkali. Now here one example is taken. So two reactions are listed here. So soaps can be prepared by two ways. So two broad methods are there for soap manufacturing. First one is alkaline hydrolysis. In other words, we can call that process, alkaline hydrolysis process, is a saponification process. So alkaline hydrolysis of glycerides, that is esters which are present in oil or fat. So here palmitic ester is taken and it is hydrolyzed by using sodium hydroxide and we are getting the byproduct, valuable byproduct, glycerol, and here there is a formation of sodium palmate. So that is nothing but this soap. So here this process is called as alkaline hydrolysis or saponification of glycerides. So in this process, whatever glycerol which is the valuable product obtained, it remains along with this soap. The second process of soap manufacturing involves hydrolysis of fat or oil followed by neutralization with alkali. So this second step involves two steps. Second process involves two steps. Step number 1, ester that is present in fat or oil is first just hydrolyzed to glycerol and higher fatty acid. In second step, this fatty acid obtained here is neutralized by using alkali, sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide, and we get this soap. So the first process involves direct alkaline hydrolysis of ester which is present in fat or oil, which is called as a saponification process. In second process, the fat or the esters which are present in fat or oil are first hydrolyzed, higher fatty acid is obtained, glycerol is obtained, this glycerol is separated out, then this fatty acid is just neutralized by adding calculated amount of alkali, sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide to obtain this soap. So these are the two general methods for the formation of soaps. Now let's discuss the important manufacturing method for soaps, and that is nothing but the full boiled process, or it is also called as hot process. So this full boiled process or hot process involves mainly three steps. So the first step is boiling step. So in this boiling step, now before going into the details of full boiled process, let me show you the schematic diagram. This diagram that is used in full boiled process. So this is the soap pan or soap kettle, which is a funnel shaped. Here steam coil is provided, which with the help of which this soap and this lye is boiled. Now here this is the pump, and this unit is called as crusher, in which the soap is mixed with the other additives, and we can get the soap. So this is the schematic diagram. Is funnel shaped soap kettle, or it is called as a soap pan, and this is the pump, and this one is the crusher. Now let's see the first step, that is a boiling step. So in the soap pan or soap kettle, fat or oil and soda lye are simultaneously taken or added. Then soap pan at its lower side is funnel shaped, as we have mentioned. Now steam is passed through the coils to boil the mixture. With the help of steam coil, we can start boiling this reaction mixture. Now this boiling is continued till the greasy nature of the mixture disappears. What is the time required for boiling? So unless the greasy nature disappears, we have to boil that reaction mixture with the help of steam. Now for that purpose, we have to add this soda lye or alkali in excess. Now this is the reaction that takes place when we boil fat or oil with this soda lye. Fat reacts with soda lye, and this process is called as saponification. Alkaline hydrolysis of fat or oil, that is called as saponification. Here there is formation of the soap and the byproduct glycerol. Now this is the first step, that is called as boiling step. Now the second step is salting out or graining step. Now what is meant by salting out step or graining step? Now for this, separation of soap and glycerol is known as salting out or graining. In first step, that is boiling step, we have seen the fat or oil is boiled with sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide, where the esters which are present in the fat or oil get saponified, and we are obtaining the soap along with the glycerol product. Now here whatever soap is obtained and glycerol byproduct obtained, that we have to separate out, and the separation of soap and glycerol is nothing but the salting out or graining process, and which is done by adding solid sodium chloride or brine to the reaction mixture. So some amount of solid salt or brine is added to the reaction mixture, where soap and glycerol get separated out. Now in this, why we are adding sodium chloride? Because the soap that is formed in the first step is insoluble in sodium chloride or brine, whereas the glycerol is readily soluble in sodium chloride. So bifurcation occurs, and we get soap which is having less density at the upper part of the soap kettle or soap pan, and the glycerol goes with the brine solution. Now soap floats at the upper portion of the pan as a curdy mass because of its low density, while spent lye, whatever waste or extra sodium hydroxide that we have added, and that sodium chloride, then glycerol, that the total solution is called as a spent lye, and dirt remain at the lower portion of the pan. So in short, soap remains at the top of the soap pan, whereas spent lye, which comprises or which contains excess soda lye or alkali, sodium chloride solution, as well as glycerol, which is collectively called as spent lye, along with dirt. It remains at the lower part of the pan. Now spent lye is drawn and pumped to the glycerol recovery plant. The spent lye, which consists of glycerol, is withdrawn from the bottom of the soap pan and it is transferred to the glycerol recovery plant. Then soap mass left in the pan is dissolved in water, boiled, allowed to settle. Spent lye is again recovered and this step is repeated once again. Finally, the soap mass is again boiled with soda lye. So to complete the reaction, to remove the unreacted fat or oil, again the soap mass is boiled with soda lye. Again it is salted out, spent lye is recovered, and after boiling with water, it is left to settle in the pan for 2 to 10 days. Now the third step, that is called as a finishing step. Soap obtained from step 2 is known as neat soap. Here we can observe this is the portion where the soap is collected. Soap is collected, and this one is called as this solution is nothing but the spent lye. Now after removing this spent lye, we can pump this soap through this pump and we can transfer it to this crusher. So this is the crusher. Now the soap that is obtained in this soap pan is called as neat soap. Let me zoom this. Now it is transferred into the mixing machine known as crusher. Now this soap is transferred into this mixing machine which is called as crusher. Now soap mass is mixed thoroughly with colors, perfumes, germicides, etc. For what purpose we are going to prepare that soap? Accordingly we can add the additives, and again this mass is stirred well with the help of a motor, and the mass is poured into the molds. Now the stirring of this mass after adding additives means colors, perfumes, germicides, etc. This mass is stirred till it becomes homogeneous. Now this homogeneous mass is poured into the molds and after solidification cut into the bars, stamped and packed. So these are the 3 steps involved in the full boil process or hot process of manufacturing the soap. The first one is boiling, second one is salting out or graining step, and third one is the finishing step. So long answer question may be asked on this. Explain the full boil process or the hot process for manufacturing soup. Now let's see the advantages of hot process. So for your syllabus, this hot process is there. The soap can be manufactured by different processes. There is cold process is there, then semi-boiled process is there, and this one is the hot process. So among these 3 methods, this hot process has some advantages. Now which are those advantages? So first one is valuable glycerol is recovered. In cold process, if you see the procedure of cold process for manufacturing of soaps, we observe the glycerol, which is the valuable product that remains along with the soap. But here in hot process, valuable glycerol is recovered or it is separated out from the soap. Fats, oils are completely saponified. So here complete saponification of fat or oil occur in this process. Alkali from the spent lye can be reused. Alkali, spent lye that we have collected, which consists of alkali, that alkali can be recovered and it can be reused for further saponification of the fat or oil. So this is about the hot process or full boil process. Now let's see the cleansing action of soap. In the examination always there is a question for 5 marks. explain the mechanism of cleansing action of soap. So here we are going to discuss the mechanism of cleansing action of soap. Now soap molecule, in the first part we have seen the soap molecule is represented as RCOONA or RCOOK. Now here one specific example is taken, sodium stearate having formula C17H35COONA. So this formula is divided into two parts, C17H35 and COONA. Now this is the hydrocarbon part, C17H35, which is non-polar hydrocarbon end, and this one is polar end, COONA. Actually COO minus and Na plus, and hence as there are charges, positive and negative charges are there, this end of the soap is called as polar end. Now this end is having no charges, therefore it is called as non-polar end, and as it consists of only carbon and hydrogen, it is called as hydrocarbon end. Now this same molecule here, the soap can be represented in this way also. So this is the representation of soap molecule. Now this is the hydrocarbon part and this one is the polar part. So hydrocarbon part is hydrophobic. Remember, hydrophobic means it is insoluble in water, or it is lipophilic. This hydrocarbon part, don't get confused, hydrocarbon part of the soap is hydrophobic, means water insoluble, or lipophilic. This is lipophilic. Lipophilic means it is soluble in oils or lipids, and this is the non-polar end as we have mentioned here. This end is non-polar end, whereas this end is polar end, and this polar end is hydrophilic, means water soluble, or lipophobic means fat insoluble. So this is how we can represent the soap molecule. Hydrocarbon part, which is called as hydrophobic, means water insoluble or oil soluble, and this polar end is water soluble or oil insoluble. Now let's see the next slide, in which we are going to see how the soap molecule shows its cleansing action. So let's see, non-polar end of the soap dissolves in oily or greasy layer in which dirt is held, while polar end project into the surroundings, which is diagrammatically shown here. Now this is the soap molecule as we have seen in the last slide. Now suppose this is this central part. This central part is the oily drop on the cloth in which dirt is held. Now these are the different soap molecules, and these are the non-polar ends of the soap molecules which get dissolved in this oily drop in which dirt is held, whereas the polar ends, Na plus, Na plus, Na plus, they are projecting in outward direction. So in short it is called as micelle. So here there is micelle formation. So remember here, the non-polar end get dissolved into the oily droplet in which dirt is held, and that oily droplet is present on the cloth. We have to wash that cloth by using this soap molecule. Now the hydrocarbon part get dissolved into this oily droplet, whereas this polar part get is projected in outward direction in this way. Okay. Now if we rub or if we tumble the cloth, this oily droplet will get dislodged. After rubbing this cloth, this oily droplet gets dislodged from the cloth and it get converted into the tiny oily globules. Now these are the tiny oily globules. They get spread into the water, and here the soap molecules get separated out. So this oily tiny globules remain away from united, or they don't get united with each other because of similar charges. So after dislodging of the oily droplet, here this is the situation of the soap molecules. Soap molecules will get oriented in different directions, and they remain the oily droplets in which dirt is held. These oily droplets remain away from uniting. So this is how the dirt which is held on the cloth is dislodged. Oily droplet is then dislodged by mechanical action like rubbing, tumbling or boiling. In washing machine we know that the clothes are washed, so there is tumbling, or when we use boiling water, then the oily droplet which is present on the cloth get dislodged, means get separated out from the cloth by this mechanical action, and this is how the cloth becomes free from that oily droplet in which dirt is held. Once loosened, just we have mentioned this one also, once loosened, what loosen? The oily drop, once it get loosened, it breaks into tiny globules which remain away from uniting due to repulsion between like charges. As a result, oily or greasy impurities get dissipated in water to form soluble oil in water type emulsion. If we look at the water that is left after washing the clothes, you will find some oily droplets that are dispersed into the water. So that is nothing but the oil in water emulsion. So finally it is washed with water. That cloth is washed with water, and this is how the dirt is removed from the cloth. By this mechanism, soap functions as cleansing agent for cleaning greasy dirt from skin, fabrics, floorings or crockery. So this, with the same mechanism, the dirt which is present on the skin or fabrics or floorings or crockeries get removed, and we obtain we get the cleaned article, that may be fabric or flooring or crockery, etc. So that this is about the mechanism of cleansing action of the soap. Thank you very much. If you have any doubt or difficulties, you can ask me. I will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much.